Greetings and welcome to Sonic Odyssey, the music video channel dedicated to bringing you the last 5 decades or so of music in review and discussion format. Before we go any further, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the video channel so you can stay up to date with all things Sonic Odyssey. And also, if you would be so kind, please consider clicking the link in the video description below for the Patreon page. There you can check out my Patreon account and decide if you'd like to become a patron. Your patronage would be most appreciated. The housekeeping out of the way, let's get to today's music. Today we're looking at American alto saxophonist David Sanborn. Predominantly a jazz musician, David has been active in the jazz music scene since 1959 when he was only 14 years old. And he released his first solo album in 1975. Now, the period when he was only 14 years old, he was playing more blues-oriented music. But he gradually, as he went through high school and university, began playing more jazz-oriented music and with jazz musicians. And it was with these jazz musicians that he eventually did release his first solo album in 1975, an album that was entitled Taking Off. This is an album that is considered by many people to be a classic in the genre of jazz funk. It's a hybrid of jazz and funk music, and it was really very well received. He's released, I believe, more than 20 albums, solo albums of his own, and has contributed to dozens more. David Sanborn has been extraordinarily active in jazz, blues, fusion, and even rock and roll. In fact, in 1975, he played on David Bowie's album, I think it was, oh God, I'd hate to get it wrong, Heroes. But I'll have to check myself on that. If I'm wrong, I'll put a message in the comments section below, but I going from memory on that. Today we're looking at his 6th studio release, which was released in 1981 and recorded in 1980. The album is entitled Voyeur. Voyeur, as many critics stated, is probably the finest example of Sanborn's style of jazz and rhythm and blues, kind of a fusion of rhythm and blues, jazz, and funk sounds. The album even won a Grammy for one of the tracks, but we'll get to that later. Voyeur is a brief affair. It consists of only 7 tracks and has a running time just north of 29 minutes. By today's recording standards, that would generally be considered an EP rather than an LP, but it is, for whatever reason, perhaps because it is 7 tracks and they went by track count rather than minute count, it is considered an album and not an EP. Part of what makes this album such a standout is that it's got such an incredible lineup of musicians. There's too many to mention, honestly. There's at least 15 or so musicians on this album, a lot of them very significant names in the jazz community, but the most significant of these would be Marcus Miller, a bassist and composer. Marcus Miller is most probably well known for his work, his solo work, but also the work that he did with Miles Davis. He's a songwriter for so many jazz musicians and rhythm and blues musicians, and has appeared. He, like David Sanborn, not only has a huge catalog of solo albums, but he has appeared on so many other artists' albums, as he appears here on David Sanborn's Voyeur. Marcus Miller's closeness with Sanborn is evident through their earlier collaborations, but here on this album, it's plain to see for anybody, if you look at the credits, of the 7 tracks, 3 are composed by Sanborn, 3 are composed by Miller, and 1 is composed by the both of them together. So let's give a listen to the opening track of the album. This one was penned by Sanborn, and it's called Let's Just Say Goodbye. This sample shows the funkiness of the assemblage of musicians. Miller's funky bass holding the rhythm and melody together tightly, and Sanborn's sax sings beautifully over the entire mix of musicians. Although this style of jazz music is sometimes associated with the genre of smooth jazz, David Sanborn rejects that association and disdains having his name and his music associated with the idea of smooth jazz. I don't know why he's so... I could not find any writings as to why he has such disdain for it, other than just the remark that he appears to find having his music associated with smooth jazz somewhat of an insult. But the music almost betrays this. It is somewhat close to smooth jazz. It is an album that is, when you listen to the 7 tracks, they do have different tempos, different melodies and such, there is this tenderness, this mellowness to the overall quality of sound, and it is quite a smooth and mellow ride. So it is sort of a betrayal in itself, but the album Voyeur is a jazz album that draws heavily on funk and rhythm and blues for its underpinnings. The song All I Need Is You won a Grammy in 1981 for Best R&B Instrumental Performance. Let's give a listen to a little bit of that song right now. In All I Need Is You, David's sax comes across soulfully and moving. His performance pulls the heartstrings of the listener. It's easy to hear why this song won a Grammy Award, and it's worth noting that this song was also one of the ones composed by Marcus Miller, as was the album's seventh and closing track, Just For You. On this song, Miller plays piano, not bass, and this song is a soft duet. It's a short song. It's just Miller on piano and Sanborn on sax. It's a mellow ending to what had been a, roughly 30 minutes of unbridled joyfulness from the previous 6 tracks. Voyeur is an album that has tremendous energy to it, and it's a great energy. It's a joyful and life-affirming energy, and I can't recommend this album strongly enough if you're interested in exploring this style of music. I hope you enjoyed the samples that I played from this, and I hope that you'll pick up Voyeur by David Sanborn, released in 1981. It's available anywhere you can buy music. It's, again, considered a classic in the genre. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Until next time, please again like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And also please consider becoming a patron to my Patreon account. And if you do so, I would be most grateful and appreciative. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Peace, and see you next time. Bye-bye.